Okay. All right. Now, can you please mute your audio and your video?
Does it have to stay on full screen?
You have to just leave it as is. And
Just leave
mute
it
the
as
video
yeah.
and the audio.
All right. Now, can you? All right.
We're ready to roll.
Are you ready, Ed? Because I'm going to hit record.
Let me just make sure this thing is ready.
Oh, okay.
Publish now. Everyone out there in YouTube land. Hello. This is good to go. So this will be on our Facebook right about now.
So we're live streaming to both YouTube and Facebook. Okay, here we go for our audio. All right, welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Yes, it does.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from middle school studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
That is correct. And today's show is called Your Supernatural Power of Optimism with actor Will Rubio. Optimism makes us a magnet for positive people, exciting opportunities, and serendipity of all kinds. It lifts our consciousness out of the mire of worry, anxiety, and fear, and keeps us focused on the goodness of people, the anticipation of good fortune, and the ability to transform our lives with our supernatural power of optimism. On this episode, Darrell and Ed have us feeling renewed and inspired by focusing on the never-ceasing power of good operating in the universe. And that is very important. It is never ceasing. And during the second segment, the wonderful Will Rubio, co-host of Random Acts on BYUtv, funny guy. He's got an improv troupe out there that we love as well. He keeps us elevated with today's reading, Creative Power.
Yes.
He's also the face of, what is that stuff like? Animal Feed or something? That he's on YouTube?
He'll let us know.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure.
You've probably seen his mug on YouTube as well.
Animal Feed.
Or maybe no animals are harmed in the making of the product. But this show is all about optimism. And you had a great definition of optimism from Charles Fillmore's The Revealing Word.
Yes, and the most optimistic thing I could do right now is go get my glasses, which I just realized. That's why I look like, what is he looking for? I was looking for my glasses.
So before the show, we were talking about how really optimism is the only sturdy belief. Like, we think we can rely on pessimism to protect ourselves or protect us from what we fear, but in reality, that ends up keeping us stuck in negativity, in our fears. And even if we conquer one, there's going to be another one behind it, because we don't realize we're projecting that negativity out there and then we're combating it. Whereas if we really feel the real meaning of optimism, which is this state of joyful expectancy based on the principle that the good never really ceases. Our mind might tell us the good has ceased, and then we start to get combative or fearful or start rationalizing why we don't feel happy. But the truth is that the good never ceases. I mean, that's kind of the foundation of all religion, and Jesus' message, that there's a good that is constantly present, and our job is to tap into it and express it and recognize that we are an expression of that good.
Well, even Buddhists said that suffering is the ignorance of truth.
Right.
Choosing to ignore this idea that there's an ever-flowing positive stream of life. Yeah. And to believe in that actually puts you in it.
Yeah, and the good news is recognizing that we do have a choice. And not everyone feels bold enough to acknowledge that. Some people think that that's like an insult to people who are suffering, but it's actually been the key to my salvation and Darrell's salvation, and is to and anyone who practices this stuff, is when I realize that actually my choice, how I'm choosing to think, the thoughts I'm choosing to focus on, the energy I'm choosing to follow and emit, and that has everything to do with my experience. And that is where I get liberated, because if it wasn't a choice, I'd be screwed, right? I'd be stuck. But it is a choice, and the power of decision, that those choices we make are so important.
Yes. So optimistic is a supernatural quality to have. And in the book, The Revealing Word, which defines all these words we love, optimism, the inclination to expect good, the practice of seeing God, all good, everywhere, a sturdy belief in the goodness of reality. Yes.
Yeah, and that's where the level of choice is. Like, there's one thing to choose, what am I going to do? But there's another thing to choose, what am I going to think about life? And that's where a morning routine is so important. Something where we meditate, read inspired, truth-based teachings, and then affirm some things positively for ourselves. Because choosing what we think is, again, because otherwise, I'm just thinking some program. Like, it could be truth, it could not be. I could have picked it up from God knows where. If I just let that program run and I don't do anything to choose what I'm going to think on that day, it's kind of a crapshoot what I'm going to get.
Well, you'll keep getting the same old thing.
Yes.
The thing about the morning routine is it'll put you in an optimistic state of mind. And your consciousness is everything. How you feel and think about the things in your life right now is all that matters.
Yeah.
Not what happened years ago.
Right.
But what you're choosing to think about, or choosing your attitude. And attitude, what is attitude? Attitude is my mental approach to life. And just listen to this. There is no progress without optimism. Nothing good happens. No positive change happens or has happened without optimism. Optimism has us all reach beyond our limited beliefs and our doubts and fears to do things that we truly desire to do above the doubtful facts that seem to appear in the moment.
Yes.
And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, because I'm going to be giving a talk on the 4th of July on June, I think it's the 30th, at Unity of Santa Barbara, the last Sunday of the month. And so it's making me realize all these stories, and just the fact that immigrants, because the focus is going to be on the metaphysical meaning of the Statue of Liberty, but also throw in some great stuff about the Declaration of Independence. Yeah. And you can't sign your own Declaration of Independence without optimism. You have to have an optimistic outlook in order to do that. Otherwise, we all just stay put. And that brings me to the immigrants that came to this country with nothing but an idea, an optimistic idea, that in America, they'd be able to do remarkable things. They would be unlimited. Anything good could happen.
Yes.
They could be what they wanted to be, have the freedom to do what they wanted to do. And that made all the seemingly intolerable things, from the moment they got on that ship in the smelly steerage compartment in the bottom, where people are throwing up and getting seasick. The water was not good or inadequate to drink. And they're on that for 1 to 2 weeks, traveling here. And by golly, when they got here, most of those people, because of that, nothing but that belief, because that belief was so strong, that feeling of optimism, that anything's possible, even if they didn't know what that was going to be, that that's what got their spirits up. And when our spirits are up, we're tuned into our intuition.
Yeah.
We're tuned into our guidance. So that's what got their spirits up. It tuned them into following joyful nudges, but it also attracted opportunity to them. And many of these immigrants went on to become the leaders in industry, where some of these companies are still around to this day,
Right.
still prospering people to this day who
Right.
work at these companies.
Yeah.
And that is a real fantastic example of optimism.
Yeah, and optimism comes from the Latin word optimus, which means best. And again, going back to the choice idea, like, am I choosing the best way to look at this situation?
Yes.
Because that's really what optimism is. Because if I'm looking at the one guy, like this custodian at my work, he acts like the whole school is just like he gives off this.
What is that picture behind
I was
you?
gonna say, first of all, I'd like to welcome this new new painting back here. Where did this come from?
Someone actually threw that away. It was painted in 1953.
Wow.
A neighbor gave it to me.
The best part is Jesus is now whispering in my ear whenever we record.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
love that. And
you gotta watch us on YouTube to see what Ed's talking about.
yeah. So, but this idea that, like, we often think, what clothes am I going to choose to wear, or what route am I going to take to work, or what am I going to choose to do? But the liberation, the really big thing for me and what we study is that, am I choosing, like, what lens am I going to choose to look at the world through? And that fellow who was the custodian, it was like after school, and I needed to use the restroom, so I was going, this guy flips the trash cans on Friday, like school gets out at 3:15. He's already because he kind of carries the place, it's like everyone's there, he's the top priority, these trash cans. So they're 2:30. The end of the day is when you usually throw stuff out.
Yeah.
Those trash cans are flipped over at 2:30 every day.
So you can't put anything in them.
Yeah, and yesterday there was something going on after school, and I needed to use the restroom. So the inside of the school apparently had been locked up, but I have a key. I tried to get in there. He saw me from far away, with an upset look that I was even going in there, to use the restroom, and he pointed me out back to where all the parents were using the bathrooms out on the playground. And at first it really upset me, but that was because my consciousness had already started to fall, and it could have very much been very righteously, doesn't he know? I mean, part of me was like, I'm the teacher. Why is, blah, blah, blah. He's looking at me. He's angry. But I realized I don't want to carry that energy.
No.
And because we've been practicing this stuff, I just started blessing him. And then suddenly I realized, wait, he talks like that to everybody. That's not a personal thing for me. I'm blessing him. I thought about all the ways that I've had loving interactions, because I've worked on that relationship for years now. So, but the point of that, what I was going to say, is that when I started to look through the less than optimal or best way of looking at things, where all of a sudden I was feeling worn out and burdened, then I started to get into it with this guy who already has a chip on his shoulder for God knows what. So what I had to do is shift back into a recognition of how good my life is, because at any moment, and this is a big, it was a breakthrough moment for me this morning. I realized it's no suffering required. It's a principle that I continue to learn. All the suffering is self-generated.
Yep.
It's because the universe God is this loving, ever-providing source within us. So how do I get in tune with that? And that is to take the optimistic point of view, the optimal view of any situation. Recognize how blessed I am to live in Santa Monica, to drive the car, to have the wife, to be able to do the show with you, to talk to Will Rubio. Change my focus, because I guarantee if you're struggling, and when I'm struggling, I'm looking at that one little speck. It's a tiny little speck on your beautiful shirt, but that's ruining the whole shirt for you, or whatever. It's take a step back Take the optimal view, because what that allows is for solutions to happen that we could not plan. And we would actually, when I don't act out of that, I get in the way and I make things worse. And I wish that I hadn't acted out of that. Well, I don't know what pessimism. If I take that pessimistic view, and I realized also today, because I went to this, took the cat to the vet. And what I realized is if I'm pessimistic, which means I'm worried, what if it's not true? Because my cat was peeing outside the litter box. I talked to Darrell. He sent me to Lori. Lori suggested I get this urinary tract food right after the show last week.
Yep.
He went in a few days. He did it like once after 24 hours.
Yes.
Yeah. Then it was like a day and a half. And now it's like 2 days and he didn't do it.
Yes.
He didn't pee outside the litter box because Lori's understood, like, that's most likely there's these crystals and male cats, and he thinks that the pain is being caused by the litter box, so he doesn't want to go in there, blah, blah, blah. But whatever, I had this solution in motion. So Optimism was working, it was easy. And then we went to the vet, and the vet wasn't very there's some great vets. Not every vet is not intuitive, wasn't really listening to the fact that he's already gotten much better, wasn't really taking that into her thinking, was kind of ignoring things that we were saying, and then was like, well, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. And if I was in a pessimistic state of mind, I would have said, well, it's my cat, I don't want him to get sick. But I was able to have a loving chat with her. I said, let's just do the urine sample, urine test sample, today. But the blood thing was just like a pessimistic, what if, we don't know. And I said, we'll be happy to take him back in here after we get that, but let's just do the urine. And it already, the bill was like higher than I thought it would be, but like Darrell says, what's my peace of mind worth? Fine, $254, great.
Yeah.
But if I had been pessimistic, I would have gotten afraid, and I would have just do whatever you got to do, and taken unnecessary steps. I'm just saying, all upselling feeds off of pessimism and fear.
Well, it tries to, the oldest method for sales is tell the customer he has a problem that he's not aware of.
Right.
Introduce them to a problem that they're not aware that they have.
Yeah.
And then offer to sell them the solution.
Right.
It's the oldest method of not good salesmanship, but of a manipulative, which seems to become the prevailing method of salesmanship. Not everywhere, but that's why I like Emmett Fox when he talks about God and business. Don't try to oversell. Don't try to get something from this person.
Right.
Just state the facts as if you would if the tables were turned.
Right.
As if you were the customer, what would you like to hear? And I was telling Ed about our vet. We found a great vet.
Which I'll probably be seeing next time.
Yes. And I knew he was a great vet because our previous dog, we had to have the vet trim her nails because they were so sturdy. And Gidget's nails are sturdy. And
super thick.
Yeah. So this vet said, you know what? I'm going to show you how to do this and tell you what to get. Because you don't want to be spending $100 and whatever it is every 6 months to get. So I was like, holy cow, I could trust this guy. And he never, even when it came to vaccinations, he didn't just say, oh, you should get this, you get that, because that's what everyone's doing now. He says, well, is Gidget often in these type of situations, A, B, C, D?
Right.
No? Then she doesn't need it.
Right.
Don't waste the money giving her the thing.
Yeah.
So that's how you know. You could feel it, though. You could feel it.
I was going to say, there's because the optimistic point of view, when practiced, and it has to be practiced, just like the immigrants, right? They had thoughts. My grandfather was one of them. He came here when he was 18 with his brothers, and he became a butcher, and then he got grocery stores. But I was going to say, they came with thoughts of optimism, and then they came to a field, which was the United States, where it was receptive to that optimistic point of view, where they could actually manifest these dreams. So what we do when we do the morning routine, and this is biblical, Like, you have to plant the seeds of optimism in fertile soil. And the way you make the soil fertile of your own consciousness is by daily practice of a
Yes.
morning routine so that your mind receives it. Because listen, what we are saying, there's a lot of the weaselly mind, the fearful mind can take anything good and flip it, right? So we're not, here's the key. Darrell and I both, it's not that we don't want to circulate or spend the money. It's just if I'm going to, I want to make sure that it's wise or that it's something that's actually going to be beneficial.
Right.
That's the key.
Yes.
Because we're not weasels trying to like get away with something. But it's just like Darrell said with his tire last week, if you listen, it felt good to get the new tire rather than drive with it.
Even though the one mechanic said you could probably just get this plugged, but I thought about it. And the other one presented the option, well, we have the tire for your car here. That, wait a minute, I do have 2 nails.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get the
Right.
plug by my house. It's like, just give me the new tire.
Because the optimism only works, in my estimation, if we're in tune with our intuition.
Yes.
The optimism makes us receptive to this intuitive thinking that goes beyond what people call the rational mind. And rational could be either fear-based or love-based. Rationalities don't care. Like, you feed into it a logic, and it feeds it back to you.
Yeah, but it only works on what's familiar.
That's right. And
That's
so,
the problem
that's
with
right.
being rational.
That's
it
right.
only looks backward. It can't see forward.
That's right. So it's not really taking in the real-time information.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to prime our consciousness through the morning routine, through this inspired reading, that's what the message of Jesus was, a different way of looking at this world that transcends all the fear, doubt, and worry. And remember, he was talking to very well-educated people who, we're doing it right, and he was saying, but you got to be like a child to enter the kingdom that we're talking about. And that's a joy, like when he says that, that means a joyfully connected human being who's still in tune with our enthusiasm, optimistic, who still has the feeling of my grandfather and your grandfather coming to the United States, like anything is possible, everything is possible, and I'm willing to work with it. Like Darrell and I, we put a lot of hours into the show, but it doesn't feel like work because it's so inspiring for us to do it. And when you're doing the right thing that feels good for you, it doesn't feel like work, but from the outside, it looks like you're working, you're doing all this. Darrell's doing all these paintings. How's he finding these pieces? And it's just like, because you get into this optimistic, intuitively led way of living and amazing things happen.
Well, and it's not just it's not just enduring. Optimism transforms your experience. It's not just a way of, I'm going to be optimistic so I could put up with this crap.
That's right.
Optimism transforms the crap.
That's right.
Forgive me for being so crass, but it's true. Earlier this week, I was doing my hike through Culver City.
Right.
And part of it goes through Los Angeles. That's not Culver City. And in that little part that's Los Angeles, all this like trash has been accumulating.
Mm-hmm.
Trash. And there's some undesirable activities going on over there.
Right.
So by the 3rd day, I'm like, I don't want to do this walk anymore. I'm going to take tomorrow off. This just feels horrible. Well, the next morning I woke up, I started doing my routine. I said, no, I wasn't thinking about my walk yet, but I was thinking, how bad do I want to change for the better? Like continue to change, to continue to have new ideas. And I said to myself, I want to change as much as a caterpillar to a butterfly. Still,
yes,
even at this age, new ideas, new outlook. So all of a sudden, I wrap up I had great ideas for new ideas to share with the upcoming workshop I'm doing, which, by the way, is this Wednesday. That's the 12th of June. There's still time to sign up. It's the intuitive method.
You go to darrellanded.com or thiswillmakeyyouhappy.com. There's a link there. You can sign up. It's awesome.
Yes. So it's not going to be the same workshop. It's going to be the same workshop because we're discussing how to recognize and act on and trust your intuitive thoughts. But I'm enjoying newer insight to share that gets me even more excited than just doing the same old class that I did last time. Because it's for me too, folks. So I'm getting higher and higher, and I go, I'm going to go for my walk. And that optimism, it becomes like Ed said, a seed, but it starts germinating fast.
Yes.
So now I'm listening to my music, and I am so high and optimistic. I walk past this one area that I was grumbling past because it's a dump. And I go, how's this happen? Me and Lori are going to move somewhere else. And you know what? There's a big sign there out of the blue saying we're going to be cleaning up this area. You know, if anything here is left by you, please move it because it's going to be cleaned. I'm like, oh my God, how is this happening?
Wow.
And now I'm listening to music. And you know that song Convoy comes on.
We got a mighty convoy. Yes.
So I am so high. I am just feeling so good. It's like I'm a different person walking in a different place on a different planet. And now I am so aware, even though I'm not looking for it, but I'm aware that people were just the day previously, you know, felt like there was no good, happy faces on this walk. Now people are saying hi to me out of the blue. People I don't even know are going, hey, man. And I'm like, holy cow. Part of me didn't believe it so much. I thought the one guy that gave me a big hearty, hey, man, because he was holding his phone. I was like, oh, that guy's just doing one of those life coach walks where he's pretending he has friends everywhere. But he wasn't. You transform your field of vibration. And when your field of vibration changes for the better, the universe, which includes other people, which includes opportunities, has to match it. That's the point of all of this.
It is the point, and it works.
And two things. You will never meet an enthusiastic, positive pessimist. I have never met a miserable optimist.
That's right.
And I just want to, we actually have the secret in our 3 breaths how to easily kick into optimism. But
yes,
we got Will Rubio coming in a few minutes, and I just want to read a few things, which we love to do on this show. Speaking of morning routines, this is from a book called A New Day, 365 Meditations for Personal and Spiritual Growth. Just so you know, we don't make any money by promoting these books. We have no interest. I mean, there's no like material interest in us promoting these particular books other than we enjoy them and we think you might too.
And we do get rich off of applying these ideas in our life.
Yes. All right, this is from June 7. Some people are always grumbling that roses have thorns. And that's what I was doing at the beginning of the week. I am thankful that thorns have roses. Some people are always grumbling that roses have thorns. I am thankful that thorns have roses. And that's Alphonse Carr. When people told me, and some of you might be able to relate to this, and you know what? I have to admit, some days at certain times, I can fall down into this. And that's the signal to switch my thinking, to get my thinking back in tune with the positive stream of life. And here it is. When people told me to have a nice day or put on a happy face, I used to get really annoyed. I hated those meaningless cliches, whether they were in advice from other people, in songs, or on cocktail napkins. I reacted as I did because of the way I had become accustomed to living. If someone had said to me, take time to smell the roses, chances are I wouldn't have understood what he or she meant. In fact, if I had stopped frowning down at the ground long enough to see the roses, it's likely I would have complained that they attract insects. Needless to say, I was damaged by such attitudes, and not always in obvious ways. Because I saw everything negatively, I was constantly angry. By the expression on my face, my comments, and my body language, I gave off negative energy that kept people away from me. I had no friends. Now that my way of thinking has changed, those expressions that used to seem so trite have taken on real meaning in my life. I've learned that when I accentuate the positive, I truly can have a nice day. And the thought for the day is, your attitude can turn today around for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And I wrote the note that became our show. Optimism is a supernatural, powerful force I can rely on. So listen, it's okay to cop an attitude, folks, as long as it's a positive one.
Yeah, right. You know, and this stuff is really, it transforms our whole personality and everything like that just described. And this is really helping me, because sometimes when we pray for a change, at first it seems like things go bad because the crap in our own brain comes forward. But really, you know, the crap in our own mind, my own mind starts to, it feels like it's thinking worse than ever before. But really that stuff seems to be coming to the surface to be released. I realize that really is the answer to our prayer, because a big part of what this stuff is accepting how powerful we are and how responsible we are, that the change comes from within us. And Eric Butterworth said, if you're hoping and praying for some new unfoldment, some inner or outer change, are you ready to let go of the person you have been?
Yes.
So you can let the flow of unfoldment be fulfilled through you as the person you desire to be, the person God sees you as being. Jesus said, you will know the truth and the truth will make you free, from John 8:32. He meant free from the mistakes of the past and the effects of those mistakes. To know the truth is to let go of untruths. Recalling negatives about yourself is rattling skeletons in your mental closet. They have no reality, but they can stir up great fears. And remember, that's the same thing as panic, because panic comes from the Greek mythology, was it? Or Roman? The Pan was the player, that was the little
flautist.
Goat legs flautist who would, and the mythology was that Pan would go when a group of travelers was going through the woods, say, to meet some far off destination, like us when we're going to meet our good.
Or if we're going to try something new.
Yes, particularly that. And Pan would go and hide in the bushes and rustle the bushes to make them think that there was a dangerous animal out there, something to be afraid of.
But he was just a prankster, folks.
He was just a prankster, maybe testing their resolve a little bit. And that's where the word panic comes from Pan rustling the bushes in our mind and telling us there's all this stuff to be afraid of. But we have to use the power of our choice to change our mind and choose, are we tuning into fear or love?
Well, we got to do our 3 breaths.
Okay.
But you're reminding me, that's what hanging on to optimism in spite of what's going around, what seems to be happening, is because it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
Whenever we get an intuitive hunch to do something new, it seems like some of the things are falling apart, but they're really falling together. And that's what that song during the Depression was talking about. You got to hang on to that optimistic attitude, because that's what's going to transform things. Not manipulating, not getting more concerned, but hanging on to things will turn around. And that's that song. Hold that tiger.
Right.
Hold that tiger.
Right.
Hold that tiger now.
You know, you'll save yourself a lot of money if you hold the tiger, because what happens in the past, there's this other thing when I had all this pessimism and fear, and I said, I'm gonna, like, there's these kind of con men and con women, for lack of a better word, that are like, we'll give you the key. Like, they feed off of that pessimism and fear, but they don't really provide the solution, because the solution has to come from within. Again, I'm not saying don't reach out to get help from someone, but first be still. Know that I am God. Know that all is well. Let this intuitive guidance guide you to the right place so that the help you receive actually works. And May Rowland says, direct your attention to this warm, loving Spirit of God, and something vital stirs within you. You commence to feel this Spirit as your very life. This is the key. It is light, it is life, it is love, it is health, the thrill of life and health aroused, renews, and restores your body.
And here's what Ed was trying to say in a nutshell.
Yeah, let's hear it.
And it's an old truth. This came from Dr. Charles Barker.
Raymond Charles Barker.
Dr. Raymond Charles Barker. And this is what happened to me. And if you look in your life, when you see how things come together or came together, you may not have been aware at the time you were doing this. But what I'm trying to say is, even if you didn't believe in God or you thought you had no faith, at these moments, because there's no atheists in a foxhole, and it's like what Reagan said when they said, aren't you concerned about them taking prayer out of school? He said, as long as there's testing in school, they'll be praying. And what that is what Raymond Charles Barker says, go to God first. Even if you say, God, please help me.
Yes.
Then to man as God directs.
Yes.
Meaning don't panic. Just go to God first. Okay, God, guide me through this. I trust you. Even if you're quaking in your boots. And you know what? The right people at the right time are going to show up.
Yeah, and even if you're going to go forward with that nervous reaching out, just use a simple affirmation like I did at the vet today, Emmett Fox, the golden key, just God is with me.
Yes.
Just take God with you into that and see what happens. Before we do the breath, let's just thank Chief Engineer Jeff Comfort.
Each week
he takes us right into the comfort zone. Yeah, thank you also to the Patreon folks.
Yes.
Patreon.com/funniest thing if you want to support the show. You give $1 every episode, $4, $5 a month.
Oh my God.
If you're benefiting from the show.
That's buying one of us a cup of coffee a month.
That's
so
right.
If you like Ed more, give $5 a month.
Yes.
Get Ed a coffee. But if you like me more, you can give $5 a month and I'll get a cup of coffee.
Right.
But either way, we appreciate your contributions. And I know it looks like we're having a lot of fun here because we are, but it does take a lot to make the show
That's right.
work and go off.
And we've been given a Tuesday 4 p.m. Zoom. Sometimes it's like a group class. This week it just ended up me doing a little truth talk and a treatment, sharing how I pray and then praying.
Nice.
And Lynn Beach said, I appreciate your uplifting message and my midday meditation prompt. Thank you for sharing. Deborah said, thank you for the prayer treatment, Ed. So powerful. Hearing your words, I feel grateful, centered, and empowered. Just join the fun.
Yes.
Join the Patreon if you're feeling it. We love you for it. If you want to send us something, funniest thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. Well, let's just get all this stuff, do the breaths, and bring him in. Because we got, when I pulled up today, Jillian.
Because we're at middle school studios.
Here, you take this part out.
So we're like here in what we call it, the heart of Screenland. And our neighbor Jillian.
Oh my God!
What is this?
I'll help you. Hopefully, I can keep this because this is a guitar on it. Maybe I can put it in my
Yes.
It says we can choose our thoughts, and then down here it says choose your music, and then find your passion, observe and follow your hunches. Thank you, Darrell and Ed, and it is a beautiful. What art? What is this? Markers or paint?
I know what these are. These are what we use in the intuitive method.
Oh, wow.
These are they're little paint sticks. If you're taking the class, you'll see what those are.
So those probably maybe have been generated from your class, right?
All I know is Jillian's been a great addition to the Funniest Thing Club.
And while you're taking that out, Lois Conklin's watching us live on YouTube. So if you're on the audio and you ever want to join us live, you can comment and such. On Saturdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. You can watch us live on YouTube. Oh, my God.
This
is a vegan Italian dessert, right? Like, I forgot what it's called. Cherries and like that almond.
Yes, cherries and almonds, and I'm going to love it.
All right, good. All right, so.
Now, this is the secret.
We're going to breathe. Oh, wait.
3 breaths.
Kirky had one thing I want to share from Kirky.
Okay, one.
He
postcard.
says, Kirky says, it's me kneeling before Fazaro, and it says, I'm not God, Darrell says, and I say, I'm not praying, I'm doing yoga. And it says, guys, an innocent mind is open to all possibilities. We have been told to get into heaven, we must become like little children. That applies not to heaven after death, it applies to heaven on earth. If you want to be happy, you must reclaim the vision through which you saw life as a child. Your problem is not that you know too little. Your problem is that you know too much about why things cannot or should not work. And that is Alan Cohen.
Well, and these three breaths came speaking of immigrants that contributed to this country. This is from an immigrant who landed in Hoboken, New Jersey. And this is the whole secret in a nutshell on how to get you tuned back into optimism.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I just direct my feet to the sunny side of the street.
I just direct my feet to the sunny side of the street.
I just direct my feet to the sunny side of the street. And that immigrant was?
Frank Sinatra?
Well, I think it was his parents that were immigrants.
I thought so. All right. And I think our guest comes from immigrant stock.
Yes, he
Cuban,
does.
perhaps. Coming up next, today's guest, the wonderful actor Will Rubio, co-host of Random Acts on BYUtv, keeps us elevated with today's reading, Creative Power. Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
And Will Rubio, you can now unmute and unvideo mute yourself.
Okay.
I can now unmute. Oh no, what happened to my video?
Where is your video?
Well, we got it like the black space where your video should be.
Oh,
There he is.
That's
How we could use another man like Will Rubio again. All right.
was nowhere near as fancy as my other one, but I guess it'll have to do.
Eleanor
wow.
Roosevelt.
Should we get started?
Yeah, we're gonna jump right in. Are you okay, Will? Are you ready for that?
I am okay. Yeah,
Ed, you don't have to tinkle.
clearly.
No, I can roll it right out. So because we're still live on YouTube. If you,
Okay.
Whatever you want to do, man.
No, let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
You have to tinkle, Ed. If you have to tinkle,
The
then-
tinkle adds a little tinkle to the show, man. It gives me a little zing.
Yeah.
So
It
I'm gonna ride that out, man, just for you, Will.
keeps you optimistic.
Keeps me optimistic. All right. All right. Welcome back to today's episode of Funniest Thing. It's called Your Supernatural Power of Optimism. We have from his lazy boy. No, that's a sofa, I think. In where are you coming from today, Will?
I'm coming from the shining gem of the valley, Studio City, California.
I was gonna say that Studio City, and he's an actor. His name's Will Rubio. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm in the I think the five timers club. I talk about this every time. It's got to be close to 5 times now.
Oh yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here in my little loft studio in Studio City. I set up a little loft here. I can record tapes. I can do podcasts and different things here. I don't do any of it, but I could.
Well, you're doing it today.
I'm doing it today, so thank you for the opportunity for sure.
Yeah. I'm loving it, man. Sue Hodgson's in Canada watching. She loves it as well. She says hello.
Hi, Sue.
Nice. So, we've been going on and on, as you know, as we like to do in a very sincere fashion about this subject of optimism. Wondering if you have any thoughts off the bat after sitting in your man cave listening.
Here in the man cave, up in the loft. Yeah. You know what's funny is in one way or another, whenever I come on your show, I have direct experience with whatever it is that we're talking about. It seems, or like that's something that I've been thinking about or pondering lately. And with optimism, I'm typically a very optimistic person, but this past week, it's something that I've been struggling with. And so I feel like even that is a positive thing. It's an opportunity to lean into certain things, to open up and to I guess I want to use the word heal, because there are yeah, I don't even know what was the impetus for the dip in oh, okay. I'll say this, guys. We talk about like the just focusing on the positive. And I think for myself, I have spent a lot of time perceiving myself a particular way, and always trying to figure myself out, and always genuinely trying to put the best foot forward. And there was something that happened this week that completely shifted my perspective about my own identity in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and how I interact in the world. And it kind of threw me for a loop to perceive myself in a particular way for so long, and then to almost have a window opened up and a perspective shift within myself that completely kind of shifted my perception of self in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And the lesson for me was that it it's also fleeting in a way, and and our perceptions of ourselves are um malleable in a sense, and that's what I think uh makes God so beautiful. It's and we may think we know God, and oh, like this is how it is, and this is how you do this and that and the other thing, and you get thrown for a loop or something happens, and you know you have the opportunity to be negative, to not be optimistic. But then ideally, you go through that valley, you go through that ebb, and the promise is that through grace we will emerge once again. We will have that peace again. We will go into a flow. And yeah, that's what I've been thinking about this week, guys. Not a super
Yeah.
optimistic approach.
No, but this
I
is
didn't come out
This
come
is
out
what
the-
it's all about, baby.
being optimistic, being on a spiritual path doesn't mean everything's perfect all the time.
That's right.
What it means is I'm always adjusting. I'm always
Yep.
seeing something new about myself that I either particularly admire or despise, and then adjusting, coming back. Or I go into a negative, what's the use? Why am I doing anything? I mean, I was thinking that when I was stopped wanting to walk the hill. I was even thinking, why am I doing this class? Why am I doing the show? Like, why am I doing all this for? It was like
Right.
one of those things, Will. Like,
Mhm.
what's the point of any of this?
Right.
No, yeah, I've been there.
I should just weed my garden, and that's enough. But a day later, all of a sudden, I'm like, I love my life. I'm looking forward to this, giving this workshop. Oh, I can't wait to the show this weekend with Will. But on Monday, that wasn't this Darrell. That was a different Darrell. But I really needed to go through that dip
Yeah.
to like reassess. It's like chiropractic. But the thing is, the spiritual path is recognizing when I'm off it and guiding myself back to it. Recognizing when I'm off it, guiding myself back to it. It's not, I mean, although I thought it would be, I'd arrive. But the good news is, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately too, that I love that I'm still having new ideas and thinking new things and getting excited about new opportunities, even if they're just in my own mind right now about possibilities that may or may not even happen. That's what really fuels my being.
Yep.
These new ideas, these refreshing. It keeps me in touch with that eternal part of me, the Darrell, the same Darrell that I was when I'm in this
Yeah.
vibration when I was 17, 15, 8,
Yeah.
25, 35, 45. It's the real me is
Yeah.
in that when I'm back on the spiritual connected. When I drift off, that's not really the real me. When I get too high about something, that's not really the real me.
Yep.
But when I get into this joyful, enthusiastic, hopeful, I'm free of everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just me.
Yeah. No, so I mean, essentially balance. You're balanced in you know, we're not too high, we're not too low, and we come back to this kind of place where we feel balanced. And I think that's oftentimes what we crave. We just want to have peace of mind, and feel comfortable in our own skin. And there's so many things that pull us either way. And I think the idea of optimism is okay, guys. I want to. I don't want to. Well, I just want to talk about this particular subject, and oh, okay. I've been studying a lot about. I shouldn't say studying. I've been listening to a lot of YouTube videos on attachment and attachment styles. Are you familiar with that at all?
Ed, are you familiar with attachment styles?
Well, let's just hear what you have to say, sir.
Attachment styles are oftentimes how we learn to get our needs met as children, essentially.
Right.
And the reason I hesitate is because I don't want to go too far off into the weeds into this idea, but to me it relates to optimism, because what I consider, when I listen to your story, Darrell, it oftentimes optimism sometimes, or at least I shouldn't project on anybody, but as I've observed it in my life, it can sometimes be a defensive mechanism to escape or switch my brain from not from dealing with very difficult things. And in many respects, it's become this superpower within me, this ability to stay positive. And speaking of immigrant families, I think that's often the case with immigrant families, because you have to huddle together, you have to make it work, you have to like kind of circle the wagons essentially, and like figure it out. If it's not working, figure it out. And I guess there's pros and cons with that. And I feel like I'm off in the weeds right now. But all that to say that I think the spiritual component of it comes in when you can observe behaviors within yourself, even if it's optimism, even if it's being too negative, and recognize where, with awareness, where that came from, and then integrate it into yourself so that you can use both sides of that spectrum to be a more whole, complete person, and not be, and then your lows don't get as low and your highs aren't as high, and you're able to come back to the middle and ideally just be and just observe and just be more present in life. And that, I think, is my goal. And yeah, I just feel like I don't sound super optimistic right now.
No, this is good.
You're making sense, because I think that's what I was trying to say when I'm in touch with that. That's the eternal me. That's what I describe that feeling as, because it's that me that's just happy with what is, because I'm happy, because I feel secure in the belief that everything's going to be okay regardless. So it allows me to be more present as just this me. I'm not putting on any show, and I'm also not hiding.
Yeah.
I'm just
Okay.
secure in faith. You know, the trust that, you know what? I have a great question. This is it in a nutshell. When I'm in this point, and here, I'm going to read one line from A Deep Breath of Life. It's by Alan Cohen. It's another morning reader. But this is not, I'm not necessarily thinking this statement, but it awakens within me somewhere. And that's when I'm bing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this: would you be willing to trust the universe to support you to live your dream, even if you cannot see how that would happen. And the dream just means to me,
Give me that book, will you?
to have all my can I trust that my needs will be met? And the great thing about getting older, you cannot deny the fact, looking back, that holy cow, all my needs have always been met.
Yes. Well, you got to read this last part to this
Yeah,
reading,
well, yeah,
which is because, Will, this is it's one thing to use the tool to get back to the place where I feel whole and I'm not going too high or low. But let's not, like, this is the difference in the Christ message to me, is that that allows me to transform into true enthusiasm because I feel the goodness of the principle of life moving through me. It's not leaning in the direction of, it's not really neutral to me. When I use these tools to get neutral so that I get back on the beam. But when I'm on that beam, I become enthusiastic like a child, and amazing stuff happens on a regular basis. It's not, like you said, it's not just so that, I can cope and go up and down. It's so I can enjoy this darn thing while I'm here.
Right here.
Because I believe that's why I came here, is to enjoy it. I was driving and I've been going through applying this affirmation. I am infinite intelligence, acting intelligently. This is a Raymond Charles Barker. And I always make the right decision. And to me, the right decision is that which is in alignment with who I truly am. That kind of right, not right and wrong, but the one that's in the flow. So all of a sudden, it's digging up all these old ideas of who I am. And I didn't sleep that much. A lot of different things happened. The water heater went out in the middle of the night. I'm like watching YouTube videos on my knees at 1:30 in the morning. I had already talked to a friend and gone to bed too late. But the next day I woke up. What's it going to be? Am I in infinite intelligence acting intelligently? Or am I this victim and I'm I'm upset at my wife and I'm upset? So I just kept going with it. I went surfing before school because something inside me told me, you'll feel better if you just get moving. And on my way to school, though, all of a sudden, this like panic attack feeling started to happen. And it's funny we just mentioned panic, but I was on the freeway driving. My brain's so tired. All of a sudden, that sense of the old me, like, who the hell am I? Starts struggling while I'm driving, and thankfully I only had a little ways to go. I just took a breath. I called in the angels. But the thought that saved me, and it goes back to what you said, was, is it better to know who I am or just know that I am?
Yeah.
And I switched from trying to figure out who I am, and I started laughing. I'm like, I'm here.
Yes.
I know how to drive. I know, like, all is well, because it simplified my whole life into, I'm here. It wasn't me trying to figure out that I'm here or who that is that's here. I was just blown away with the miracle and feeling the fullness. I am here. And when I know that, because a lot of the part of me that's trying to figure out is also trying to figure out, I don't know, like how to subtly control outcomes and who's thinking what of me and blah, blah, blah. But when I just, like a child, recognize I'm here, this is amazing.
Yes.
I'm here. What else can I do? My whole day was blown out of the water. And it's because I'm so glad you said it, because I even texted my friend Josh, who, like I said, is it better to know who you are or to know that you are, or something like that? Because that's what or is it better to know who I am
just to know
or just
I
to
am.
know that I am? And I mean, that's like a lot of spiritual teachers talk about that. And I finally it clicked in a new way. Like when we really get out of it all and just go like, whoa, there's so little I actually know. Mm-hmm. I do know I am. And it's like, let's see. And there's something about when that joy of that simplicity starts to flow. And then I start seeing, like you said, I create music. I have friends. I teach. I'm married. I have a kid. I live in Santa. I'm like, what is going on? This whole thing is amazing. How does it happen?
Yeah, that reminds me of this experience. Well, like generally we can demonetize ourselves and be like, well, I'm just a whatever, insert whatever your profession is, or I'm just a clump of electrons cascading through the universe or whatever. I'm just. But if you, in the same way, take out the word just and marvel in what that you are. I think that's really helpful, and I think that's beautiful. The idea that I am here and just enjoy that, because at the end of the day, I think that's what so many people want. That is this connection with our creator, with God, and
Yeah.
we seek it in so many different
Oh yeah.
ways
Right.
that are somewhat detached from him. Guys, I started taking these walks, just like long walks. I leave my phone at home and I just start walking, and I've
Cool.
done like 2 or 3 hours. Sometimes I'll go and hike to Fryman and do the hike and then come back. And this a couple few days ago, I just started walking and I went through these. I got to like a dead end, but then I saw that these bushes went down, and then I ended up along the LA River, and just walking through there, and kind of jumped over a fence and ended up on this random street fairly far away from my house, and passed by this little, I guess it was a pub, and they were doing stand up in there. And I was like, you know what? I'm
Oh.
just gonna pop into this place that I would, there's no reason I should be in
Yeah.
this right now, and see if I can get up and do some stand up. And I ended up doing that. And the guy was,
Wow.
oh yeah, like 3 people canceled tonight. Yeah, I can get you up. You do it, take 8 minutes at the end. And I ended up doing some material at this random place that I never would have been anyway.
Wow.
And it was just a acceptance of things as they are, and observing the beauty
Yeah.
of being alive
Right.
that um led to this cool experience.
Yeah.
And one thing of note for me at that experience, the guy that was hosting the show ended up basically, once the show ended, he talked for like 10 minutes because he had hurt his knee, and just telling people about his like rehab and like the walks that he had taken and how he's getting better and this.
Wow.
And it 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 was funny and almost heartwarming to me, and kind of out of place in this bar at this stand-up night. But what I realized was he just wanted to be seen, he just wanted to be heard and like,
Right.
connect with people, and he was using this show that he was hosting to do it.
Yeah.
And just like taking people through like all these things about him, because yeah, we just want that connection. And what's beautiful is when we take time we we connect, that is available to us at any time. And I mean, I genuinely feel better already just in speaking to you guys and listening to the because like I said, I'm generally very, very up here, and then there's just
Yeah.
the occasional time,
Right.
even for the great Will Rubio, that it's just
Amen.
I
yeah,
love Rainy Day Will.
rainy day.
I love Rainy Day Will.
Very
Yeah.
concentrated, a little more mellow.
Well, no, it's like all of us. Just like I love a overcast day and you can sit inside and have some soup. You know what I mean? If every day's sunny, it's kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, brother, another perfect day in paradise. Good grief.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so true. Even like there's a wave that I surf in north of Malibu. There's not that many people, and sometimes it's a conveyor belt of the most perfect wave again and again. And
Uh-huh.
if I surf that a couple times, I want to go back to this. That's a point break where the wave just hits the same spot and does the same thing. I want to come back to Santa Monica where it's most people think it's just crap, but it's like a smorgasbord of different kinds of waves, and you don't know
Oh,
what you're
okay.
going to get each time. And it's like, yeah. So I like Rainy Day Will as well, Willie or Wonty.
Now, do you have the reading near you to read the creative power reading?
I sure
Or-
do.
You can read it?
I believe your supernatural power of optimism.
No,
Yeah.
they'll get
No,
it. Yeah.
the actual. There was a reading in there called.
Oh
Creative
yes, I have it by
Yeah.
Joyce Kramer.
Yeah.
Yes, can you read that for us?
God, I give thanks for the creative power that is mine. I use it wisely. Unlimited creative power is within you. It is magnetized and drawn to you by your thoughts and feelings. Circumstances, people, resources, whatever you are experiencing in life has come to you as a result of your thoughts and feelings acting upon this creative power. This power will function for or against you. If your desires are good, results will be good. If your fears are strong, they will tend to attract whatever you fear. The thing which I have greatly feared is come upon me. Job 3:25. Persistently direct your thoughts, feelings, and desires towards the good things in life, toward that which is pleasant and wholesome. Then you can depend upon this creative power to produce good results in all that concerns you. Take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. 2 Corinthians 10:5. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, that directing of our thinking. I was thinking, I kind of feel like what you're talking about with optimism as a form of escape is it applies to what Jesus said when he said, the letter of the law killeth, but it's the spirit that gives it life. Even with optimism, if it's just the letter of the law, I'm optimistic, I'm like this, without the spirit underneath it of optimism, which is springing forth from sort of a simple of I am, like marveling at life and feeling the nature of life, like the spirit behind it is everything.
Yeah, I'm convinced. When I'm optimistic, somewhere inside me has clicked in to being convinced that I'm going to be provided for. I don't need to have a care in the world.
Yeah.
And then it starts fueling and attracting from that place all these exciting ideas like, oh, we could do this today, or we could do that, or how about this? And I start seeing everything in an appreciated, more appreciative attitude, which then makes me more attractive to good. But it's not just, I'm trying to get myself to be positive, to put up a good front.
Right.
Everyone else is down, so I got to go in there and be positive. That's kind of drains me because it's not coming from the spirit of it.
Yeah. Darrell and Stephen and I were, Tom Thorpe were at the coffee shop the other day, and Stephen said it, that it's okay to admit like something's really pissing you off, or it feels terrible, or you're doubting. Because oftentimes, once we cough up how, this is, it's applying it to the spiritual psychology program. It was, we used to, applying it to what we learned in there was like, people will say, and Darrell calls it packing the musket. You could call it a lot of things, but people would say when they're in the client chair, it's like sharing what, there's a part of me that feels like this. There's a part of me that, and so like,
because I'm not allowed to say anything negative now that I'm spiritual.
Yeah. So the first question would often be to getting down to it would be, all right, let's stop talking about that part of you. Just speak from that part of you. Give the feeling itself a voice. Stop talking about the feeling as if it's not, because that shows I am separating myself from this part of me. So as soon as we start talking from the feeling, oftentimes with Darrell and Stephen and I, it's like first acknowledging how bad we feel and what we're really thinking allows us to laugh about it. And then the true optimism starts to flow through.
Yeah, because that's the congestion. If you don't say, like whatever it is, you go, what? Like if you don't say the truth about how you're feeling when you feel bad about something, and I mean to yourself, or if someone asks, well, nothing, I'll say, it's okay. The good Lord will provide. Well, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Because I'm stuffed. The congestion is still there.
That's right. It's all about the circulation, because the congestion is what's causing the bad feeling that there's this thing being held back. The energy needs to flow. All energy needs to flow and circulate. And once it flows and circulates, it will naturally transform into a healthier perspective.
Yeah. And of course, you're allowed to have discernment.
Yes.
I don't like going to this place anymore.
Right.
Because I don't feel good when I go there. Well, you need to look at that. No, I don't feel good going there. I've been there 3 times. I don't need to go back.
Yeah, because that was
You're allowed to use discernment.
That's the negative side of any social group, including that spiritual psychology community. When everyone starts pretending they're at this place because they want to get there, and then there's maybe a leader who pretends he's there, and everyone starts ignoring their own feelings and just forgets who the hell they are. They lose common sense. You know what I'm saying? It's like we are all, the Christ resides within all of us or none of us. The divine mind expresses itself equally through all of us, and it's just about
We're all just as
receptivity.
valid, just as worthy. Yeah.
Yeah, and conscience means literally with sentia, with knowing. So if something feels bad, it means use discipline, which discipline literally means go in a good way, to go in a good direction,
to follow
to
that
follow
inner guidance.
to follow the loving leader. That because it's from disciple, folks. So our conscience goes, I don't feel good about this. I don't feel good about what this salesman's telling me, but I've been here all day and I don't want him to not like me, so I better buy this.
Right.
No, you're allowed to leave. That's your conscience. And you'll feel good. If you don't get this thing, you'll get a better thing.
Yeah.
But we say, shout,
Let it all out. Yep. Yeah, and the power of decision begins in our meditation. Affirm and choose to have the authority in our own life to declare for ourselves who we are, what we're expecting. I'm expecting amazing ideas today. I'm expecting to be receptive to that. Because the one that's listening is our own subconscious mind. We are praying in a sense because God is principle of ever increasing good in my estimation, but my subconscious mind needs me to be the loving leader at times and make the decision. This is the way we're going today, boys. Let's go.
And,
Yes, and it works. It's amazing.
Yes, don't tell yourself over and over that you're the problem when you discover a problem area. And what I mean is,
Yeah, that's right.
because I do this to myself, I'll procrastinate organizing. Even though Lori goes, you're the most organized person I know, but I'll procrastinate until I have to do it. And then when I do, I make the mistake to go, I'm so unorganized. Well, that's telling my subconscious, oh, okay, we're unorganized.
Right.
You're allowed to tell yourself
Yes.
the truth, the person you desire to be, the good. It's okay to say something good because otherwise we're saying something bad. Because I've run into problems when I was new to this stuff, when someone would tell me, stop telling yourself you're unorganized. When I am, it's the truth. No, stop it. You're making it true.
Yeah.
Tell yourself, I'm very organized. I'm very organized. I'm very organized. And what will happen? Your circumstances, your behavior, and your ideas will now all recluster to where you're feeling good organizing more often than not.
So true.
But if you continue, because when I was, like I said, and some people, if they're asking for a solution, you suggest this, you got to be cautious because they'll think that's garbage. That's not the truth. And I used to say the same thing. Well, I am unorganized. And then I'm just digging in deeper. And you know what? It's not true because it feels bad. Anything we say to ourselves that's discouraging is not true. This is time to start encouraging ourselves. I call it, I have to treat myself like the kind and loving grandmother I wish I had. Come on, Darrell, you're very organized.
That's right.
You can be organized. Just do 5 minutes a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got to read one thing before we go.
Ahead, yeah.
Because this is important. Words and magic were in the beginning one and the same thing. And even today, words retain much of their magical power. And that's what we're talking about. And that's from Sigmund Freud, believe it or not. It goes on to say, we shape our experiences with the words we use to describe them. Word images create expectations, and we naturally move toward them. When a man says, I can't, he is commanding his unconscious self to be helpless. When he has a picture in his mind of moving toward his goal, he may say, and this is optimism, it's hard, but I'm going to give it my best shot. If every time he makes a mistake, he mutters berating statements to himself, you idiot, you can't do anything right, he is teaching himself to be inadequate. Do you want to teach yourself to be inadequate?
Come on, Will.
But
Stop.
that feels so bad. Think about that sentimentally.
Yeah.
When you're saying you're an idiot, you can't do anything right, that's heartbreaking. Would you say that to a child? Because that's what's inside you.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to use respectful, honest, health-giving words to ourselves. We can no longer use defeating, shaming, or derogatory words. Our language has a hypnotic effect on us and the people around us.
Yeah.
So let's look at our resources today and name them. Let's meet our difficulties with our strength,
Yes.
our patience, and the backing of our higher power. And the affirmation is, I will call forth images and use words to show I respect myself and others.
Say that last part again.
I will call forth images and use words to show I respect myself and others.
Yeah. You know, and it's about getting creative with our thinking.
Yeah.
Just because a pattern has gone on for so long doesn't mean it's real or we have to accept it.
Or it can't change.
Yeah, because Raven Charles Barker says creative thinking gives a zest to living. And you are a creative thinker. This is the key. When you decide to be one, that's every moment. So the feeling that it is great to be alive is a spiritual necessity. It lessens the strains and tensions of routine functioning. It quickens new ideas and consciousness and alerts the mind to the fascinations that are available to us. It allows no morbidity, no boredom, and no lazy thinking. It prevents us from drifting in the past. It causes us to be today people, expecting great things in our tomorrows. And he says, life is the action of the Spirit. God is never bored. The infinite is forever mind creating new ideas, new concepts, and new purposes. The infinite never repeats itself. And I notice when I'm in boredom or like some kind of like static thing, even if it feels like this is the right thing to think about right now, it feels like I'm reliving something I've relived before. But what if like lately I've just been inserting, I've never lived this before. How do I know anything about what's going on right now? How about I explore this with a brand new mind and see what I can come up with about what's going on. And it really goes back to what Will said. It's about redefining who I am and allowing myself to be redefined. Because one of the things that tickles me sometimes is when I realize, who's telling me that this is who I am?
You are.
Only me. There's no, like, I'll be in by myself and I'm thinking, oh, they see me this way, but they're not even there. It's all like, and a lot of times I have a lot more free play to let myself be something totally new than I sometimes give myself credit for. And that's where that to me is optimism, or a big part of it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the great secret, that you can be anyone and anything that you want to be. It just requires. So what is optimism, and what's the best way to foster optimism? If we know that we're gonna have difficult times, and the comeuppance or the exit from those difficult times comes back to a mindset within us that we exude and remind ourselves of our worth, of our value, and which is denoted as optimism. I think the ultimately the speed at which you can recover essentially is the level of the degree of optimism. So this reminder and this understanding that I am a child of God, I am worthy. The more time you can shave off from when you go down to going, wait a minute, what am I, crazy? Like I'm inside of my own head. I'm inside of I'm insular right now, or I'm selling myself short.
Yeah.
And the time and that's why it's great to have these resources, these readers, these things that remind you of basically of who you are. They remind you of who you are and help you to get back into an optimistic state more readily. And for some people that's the morning readers. For some people it's taking a walk in the afternoon. It's connecting with yourself and with God any way that you know how. And that is, I think, I know I have fallen short in that quite a bit. And it's intuition, man. It's like
Yes.
listening to yourself and going like, oh, I know what I need right now. Why am I running it through a filter of what other people are going to think of what the situation calls for, right? It's like, and that's when you get caught up in the letter of the law versus like what you were saying, Ed, the spirit of the law. Like, what is it that I need right now? God is within me, and God can, and so I know what I need as well, as long as I'm connected to Him.
Right.
Optimism.
And that, to me, that's...
I'm back. It's not Rainy Day Will anymore.
There you go, baby. That heals all the thing with attachment, because our true connection comes through an inner connection to the same source that we're all connected to. As if I adjust that connection, all the outer connections and attachments realign themselves in a beautiful way. And I see it happen all the time. Once I shift into this knowing of who I really am and what, like you described, all the old patterns rearrange themselves much more easily than I ever thought they could.
Well, you know, there was a time when you were in college, Will, that you were very optimistic.
Oh, that's correct.
That's true. I remember this.
We found this little newsletter from Will Rubio University.
Well, it was in Utah, I think.
Utah. Excuse me. But it said when Will Rubio, speaking of stand-up, when Will Rubio was fresh out of college, he called his dad full of optimism.
The bank keeps calling me to give me compliments.
His father replied,
"That's great, Will. What'd they say?" "They say I have an outstanding balance."
Zing.
Yeah. What an amazing story, though, Will, that you actually told, that you went on that walk and ended up doing stand-up. That's incredible.
Pessimism would have never allowed you to do that. You'd have said, "Oh, I'll take note that they do stand up here, and I'll come on a day. I just was walking." I mean, a number of things could have stopped you.
I can't tell you how many times that I've actually done that thing. Mostly in my past about talking to girls. It's like, well, next time I'll talk to that amazing, that girl that I'm really attracted to that walked away. I'll do it next time, right? And it's and
I know that feeling, and I like somehow make that virtuous. I don't really need this right now. Look at me. I'll deny this good till next time.
Well, remember the representative? Remember the representative from the state of Tennessee?
Yeah. This is not
John DeBerry.
This is a real person. Yes.
Who was on our show?
Yeah.
He called that attitude. He said, "The devil is always kicking the can down the road. Oh, I'll do it next time." When you have that hunch to do, "Oh, I'll talk to them later."
Yeah.
"Oh, it'll come this way again, probably."
Right.
I mean, you keep kicking the can to your good down the road. And we're not doing that with optimism.
That's right.
Taking chances.
Crack open that cold can of optimism and take a swig, baby.
Well, give me liberty or live free or die, as New Hampshires.
Well, you know what happens when you do, right?
Oh, I know.
Every morning, every evening, ain't we got fun? Not much money, oh, but honey, ain't we got fun? The rent's unpaid, dear. We haven't a bus, but smiles were made, dear, for people like us.
Visit darrellanded.com.
Will Rubio, we love you.
To find easy links to everything we do.
Random Acts on BYUtv.
And thanks as always for being part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
In the winter, in the summer, don't we have fun? Times are bum and getting bummer. Still we had fun. There's nothing surer. The rich get rich and the poor get children. In the meantime, in between time, ain't we got fun? Woo!
Well, thank you, Will. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you. Are we still live or did you cut it?
Well, if I cut us off, it cuts everything off.
Oh, it does. Well, thank you. And yeah, Random Acts season 9 is airing right now. We're halfway through. Check it out on BYUtv.
Well, we're going to be in touch.
And I put the link for Random Acts in the YouTube and also in the podcast if you're listening. So
yes,
check it out.
We highly recommend that show.
It really is optimism. It's completely based on optimism. and it shows you how to unlock optimism through kindness, because there's no greater way to unlock optimism through kindness, because that is the ultimate way to remind us who we are.
Yes, and we're reconnected to each other, to our source. It's just wow.
Ooh la la. All right, buddy.
All right, guys. Love you.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.